Good morning and welcome to another edition of App Marketing Conversations. As always, I am joined by Ian Sefferman of MobileDevHQ by Tune, Robi Ganguly of Apptentive. Okay, so this morning we've already talked about Apple and their earnings announcements and a little bit about the watch. And Robi kind of prefaced this conversation during that segment, so you should make sure to watch it. But here we're going to talk about really early predictions for the upcoming big two shows, Google I/O and WWDC. So why don't we start with Google and what we're expecting from them, or what predictions, hopes, etc. Hopes and dreams from the Android world.
Yeah. So I have two predictions. One is I think that they're going to, because they've been quiet on this front for a little while, I think they're probably going to release several upgrades to the App Store. As an app marketer, I would expect that they're going to be changing some things in the App Store, and they're going to make a big deal about it, and it's probably around search discovery and monetization. And then the second is we haven't, since they really released Cardboard and the kit around 3D and VR that they were trying to do, we haven't really seen much, so I'd expect to hear some more progress around that front, especially because this last year, at least in the private capital market, has seen a ton of money move into VR. It's clear that there's more investment there on the apps front to be had.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have an opinion?
So here's, so I agree with a lot of that, but here's my wild prediction. My wild prediction is, in no way do I think this is actually going to happen, but this is nonetheless what I'm hoping on. My wild prediction is that Apple has been working on a self-driving car, and that they will announce it, and it will be ready before Google gets theirs out.
No shit.
Okay.
That'd be incredible.
Like that?
Yeah.
That would change everybody's world, wouldn't it?
So we were interrupted really briefly by Humphrey Bell. And so I think you were saying you have a joint prediction between Google I/O and WWDC. So can you restate that?
Yeah, it's about cars, and it's that Apple has secretly been working on this car, autonomous vehicle, driving itself, and that they will announce it with a launch date earlier than Google will get theirs out.
Okay. Do you have an opinion on that?
I think it would be amazing. I think actually, I think it's a little early. I think it might happen next year because of the stuff I've seen around them hiring people. But yeah, I could believe it, right?
Yeah.
I could totally believe it.
Yeah. So let me ask you a different question. Is there anything that Apple or Google could do that would surprise you? Like all this stuff, you'd be like, yeah, I can totally see them pulling off. I mean, within like within reason of like the physical bounds of nature.
I mean, I think I would at this point, because Apple TV has been such a weird anomaly, and we've had so many hopes and dreams. I would be amazed actually if they just came out and said, "Here's a TV, like a legitimate TV." At this point, I think I've thrown it away as an idea in my head, and I would be shocked if it came back.
Okay.
I think a tactical one on well, maybe not so tactical. It's a little bit bigger, but one that I would be shocked about, that I would love to see happen, is the app stores go away. What if we can get to a point where apps are ephemeral enough that they could be downloaded and removed from phones sort of very, very quickly? You don't really need this single place to get an app, have it on your phone at all times, get rid of it. It becomes more like a web search experience with native excellence and experience.
Yeah, that would totally shock me.
Yeah.
That would absolutely be surprising.
That would be surprising. But so, who does that benefit? Google.
Yeah.
Right. So, because I think one of the interesting things that's happened, and we probably could have talked about this today, is the release of the new Google algorithm, which kind of bifurcated mobile tablet and desktop search, so that mobile searches have different results, right? So your prediction around Google updating the App Store around search and monetization, I think is that's not a crazy one, because that's like where they can really differentiate themselves, and they continue to do so.
Yep, and they did it with the app indexing thing as well.
Yeah, right. But Apple continues to not do that stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll go with my hope and prediction for WWDC is maybe not the removal of the App Store, but like an improved App Store search and discovery process. Although I will forever fight to the death that discovery is not broken, search can still be improved within the App Store. So let's talk about VR for a second, because you mentioned that a little bit. Do you have any specific predictions that Google or Apple will make headway against?
So, have you guys ever played with cardboard?
I have a little bit.
So, my first experience with cardboard, for those of you watching who aren't familiar, was this really small piece of cardboard with a couple of like plastic lenses in it that you could piece together and make essentially a visor, and then you could drop your Android phone in it, and it would allow you to see things in a VR manner using a couple special apps.
It works with iPhone too, by the way.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Oh, so it works across. And then it was really the first time that, because I haven't worn an Oculus Rift, it was the first time I had ever experienced VR, and it was compelling enough that I started to understand a little bit more of what was going on. But they haven't made much noise since, right? So
Yeah.
it's been about a year. I would expect there to be at least some progress around apps available to do it, if not a full-fledged framework and potentially a way to get these cardboard devices in the hands of more people. I would expect to see some stuff like that if they're going to actually come out. That would be my prediction. But what I would really like is I would like them to go and start bundling it in with certain like Nexus devices and say, okay, we're really making a bet on this.
Yeah. Okay. You have an opinion on that?
So I've never played with cardboard. I think the idea sounds intriguing. I worry that it's simply too much of a hack for VR, right? Like the real way to do it is through a true VR, like Oculus or whatever. I'm also just not really convinced about VR yet as a whole sector. So we'll see. It would be really cool if they could figure out a way to pull that off. It's ultimately your phone is the center of your universe, as we've talked about in many times, and if they can make it extra usable by adding some VR component, that'd be really pretty sweet.
Yeah. Okay. So we're jumping around here quite a bit, but let's jump around a little bit more. So back to the TV thing. So the Apple invitation for WWDC, or the notice for it, looked like it had an Apple TV right in the center of it. Did you see that?
I know, like people talked about that logo having that there, yes. And my hope, which has been my hope for the last two, is that means we're finally going to get an SDK for the Apple TV.
Yeah.
That's my hope.
That would be a good prediction.
Yeah.
I'd like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it would too. Although I still am of the belief that the phone kind of controls everything, and maybe the Apple TV is kind of like a dumb component for the phone. Maybe.
That's what you get at. That's a Chromecast essentially, then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then you could imagine having watch kit, TV kit, right, side by side. You're like, oh, you just enable your...
And you see how your heart rate goes up when something bad happens on TV.
Ha! Oh my gosh, you can already see the ad sales people like drooling in the bathroom. Like, we're gonna sell this data back to advertisers. Like your ad was not emotional enough.
That's pretty good. Okay, so any other big predictions for either? I don't know that we can get bigger than the car one. What about iOS 9?
I mean, they're gonna have to release something, right? Probably.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be huge? Like, I haven't heard anything about it, right? I think for me it would go back to making search a first class citizen there. I think that if I had a wish, maybe not a prediction, if I had a wish, it's that the home screen becomes less tiles of apps and more search focused discovery of content.
Yeah. So like spotlight search, effectively.
Yeah, moved to be first class citizen.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think if I think about iOS 9, I would expect less emphasis on the actual aesthetics and the UI, and more emphasis on, like you're talking about, search as an interface, and search. What would be specifically interesting to see would be search getting tied in with the work that they released with extensions last year, so that it started to work across apps because extensions enabled it. And then the second thing I would expect is more voice. Like because the watch like increases all of the voice command use cases, I would expect to see another level of Siri, essentially.
God. You're probably right. So the one thing I'll add for the iOS 9, I think that's all probably very true, is I'd read, and I think it's probably a good one, that this might be a focus on kind of like a cleanup.
Yeah.
And just fixing all the crap that's gone wrong and kind of piled up over the last 2 years as they've shifted everything toward the flat design and totally new ways of engaging with it. So that would be totally fine by me.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we jumped around enough. Thanks very much for watching. Make sure to watch the other segments. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and check us out next time.